We continue our discussion on the Middle East regarding the Arab League and their recent involvement with Syria. Over the last 8 months, the Arab League has been faced with the turmoil of the Arab Spring uprisings. As many of you know, civilians in Syria have been protesting to overthrow President Assad's autocratic regime and install a democratic government. The Arab League is now demanding an immediate end to violence against protesters. The Syrian government has disregarded this request and continues to use force against civilians. Despite the Arab League's efforts, they have been unsuccessful thus far in negotiating an agreement to end the violence. Joining us now is our Arab League correspondent and local expert, Safa Hamid. We will be taking your questions from Twitter at BBC News.
Thank you for having me, Anna.
We're always happy to have you. We'll start the
question. Our first question is from I Love Kitties 00034 asking, is the Arab League the legit name of the organization?
No. In fact, its full name is the League of Arab States, but is often referred to as the Arab League.
Our next question comes from SurferGirl29 asking, oh my god, like why was the Arab League founded and stuff?
Well, I love the enthusiasm, but not the grammar. Safa?
The Arab League was founded on March 22, 1945 to promote the interests of the Arab world, including developing the economy, promoting independence and sovereignty of Arab nations, resolving disputes, and coordinating political claims.
Would you like to elaborate on some of the League's early involvement for our viewers?
Of course. At the time of the League's formation in 1945, world politics highlighted the need for an Arab bloc with World War II and the emerging independence of Arab colonies at the end of the war. The French aggression against Syria and Lebanon in 1945 left the two nations vulnerable to attacks and emphasized the need for an Arab mechanism of support. Furthermore, the independence of Israel in 1948 and the Zionist movement roused a sense of fear amongst the Arab nations who opposed the formation of a Jewish state. The first major action of the Arab League was a joint attack on the newly formed state of Israel in 1948. The failure of the attacks resulted in the creation of a mutual defense treaty years later. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has been one of the most diverse issues in the Arab League and the only aspect of diplomacy of which all member nations can agree. The members agreed to support the Palestinians under Israeli occupation and demand the withdrawal of Israelis from all lands occupied after the 1967 war. The League recognized the geographical importance of the oil-rich reserves and the Suez Canal as an international waterway in the Arab territory and wanted to manage these economic assets as a group. The League was divided over the United States invasion of Iraq, as some opposed the invasions and others remained impartial. The League agreed to protect al-Bashir in Sudan from arrest warrant by the ICC for war crimes and crimes against humanity in Darfur. The Arab League has greater role since the Arab Spring uprisings and agreed to back the United Nations against Gaddafi's forces in Libya and condemn Syria's repression of protests. Today, much of the League's policies remain the same, although the League places a greater emphasis on the coordination of policies and military defense measures to strengthen the political, cultural, economic, and social problems of the member states. Currently, the Secretary General of the League is Nabil El-Arabi.
Well, while the Arab League is a good organization in theory, it rapidly loses effectiveness as ideas translate into reality. Would you like to elaborate, Safa?
I would love to. Because the Arab League encompasses 22 autonomous nations, it faces similar challenges to those of the United Nations. The League is particularly strained when it comes to political issues. Decisions made by the Arab League are only binding to members who voted for them, therefore undermining the agreements with respect to the larger diplomatic scope and crippling the League as an important political influence. Even if the members manage to agree on an issue, the concern rarely goes beyond the issuing of declarations. Generally speaking, the Arab League has failed to coordinate foreign defense or economic policies.
We can see the inherent weakness of Arab League diplomacy in the Arab League's attempts to establish peace in Syria over the past few days.
Well, I have a great follow-up question. Care Bears Rock 856 wants to know, can the Arab League have a significant influence in the future outside of international affairs?
The Arab League has been a little more effective at lower levels, such as shaping school curricula, launching literary campaigns, preserving Arab cultural heritage, fostering cultural exchanges between member nations, preserving manuscripts, and translating modern technical terminology. It has also helped to create a regional telecommunications union.
So you're saying the Arab League should focus on issues within specific countries where they have influence and avoid high-level international disputes?
Exactly. I do not see the Arab League having a large role in world politics in the future. Their individual member states may exert influence, but as a group their power is and will be very limited.
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you, Safa and Danny, for joining us, and thanks for tuning in. See you next time on BBC News.